Most people over 60 believe they're doing everything right for their leg circulation. They walk daily. They elevate their legs. They wear compression socks. And yet, the symptoms keep coming. Cold feet that never warm up. Swollen ankles by evening. Burning, tingling, or aching pain at night. And eventually, balance problems and falls. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. The most commonly recommended advice for leg circulation after 60 often isn't enough, and in some cases, it slows real recovery. As a surgeon, I see this pattern repeatedly. Patients do exactly what they're told, but the underlying circulation problem continues to worsen quietly in the background. By the time they realize something is truly wrong, the damage is already advanced. Poor circulation isn't just about comfort. After 60, it becomes a serious medical risk. Reduced blood flow slows healing, increases infection risk, and weakens the tissues in your feet and lower legs. Minor cuts can turn into stubborn sores. Simple swelling can progress into chronic inflammation. In severe cases, circulation failure becomes a pathway toward ulcers, hospitalization, or even amputation. What makes this more dangerous is that leg circulation problems are often an early warning sign that the heart and arteries are under strain. When blood struggles to reach the feet and return efficiently to the heart, it's usually not an isolated issue. The biggest misunderstanding? Most people think bad circulation simply means cold toes. In reality, it's a mechanical failure. Blood isn't being pushed downward efficiently, and more importantly, it isn't being pumped back upward against gravity. With age, arteries stiffen, veins weaken, and blood begins pooling in the lower legs instead of circulating freely. By age 70, nearly 1 in 5 adults shows measurable signs of peripheral artery disease, many without knowing it yet. Surgeons don't guess about this. We see the downstream effects clearly: swelling turns into sores, mobility declines, balance slips, and one fall can trigger a rapid loss of independence. The good news? Fixing circulation does not depend on how many steps you take. It depends on activating the right muscle pumps, the ones that physically move blood back toward the heart. Once you understand which muscles do this job, the solution becomes surprisingly simple. And that's where everything changes. Rehook. In the next part, I'll reveal the second heart in your body, the muscle surgeons target first after leg surgery, and why walking alone often fails to activate it after 60. There's a powerful circulation system in your body that most people have never heard of, and almost no one trains properly after 60. Doctors call it the venous muscle pump, often referred to as the body's second heart. And it lives in your calves. Every time your calf muscles contract, they squeeze the deep veins in your lower legs and physically push blood upward toward the heart. This isn't theory, it's mechanical physics. Without this pump working efficiently, blood pools in the ankles and feet, swelling increases, oxygen delivery drops, and healing slows dramatically. Here's the problem. After 60, this pump weakens fast. Long periods of sitting, cautious movement, and reliance on slow walking cause the calves to stop contracting forcefully enough to move blood properly. Walking relies heavily on momentum. The calf muscles often never fully engage, especially in older adults with shorter steps or balance concerns. That's why surgeons and rehab specialists don't rely on walking alone after leg surgery. Instead, they start with deliberate, controlled movements that reactivate the calf pump directly. One of the first movements prescribed in vascular and orthopedic rehab is deceptively simple: seated ankle pumping. It may look too easy to matter, but clinical rehab protocols show otherwise. Controlled ankle pumping significantly improves venous return and reduces swelling, even in patients who can't stand or walk yet. When the calves contract deliberately, stagnant blood is pushed out of the lower legs. Feet warm up. Pressure decreases. Oxygen delivery improves. Healing accelerates. And here's the key insight most people miss. Intensity doesn't matter as much as consistency and control. This movement works because it restores rhythm, not because it burns calories. The goal isn't exhaustion. It's repetition. It's reminding your circulatory system how to move blood again. This is why people who walk all day can still have poor circulation, while someone who performs targeted pump movements sees real improvement. But ankle pumping only wakes the system up. It doesn't strengthen the larger muscles responsible for keeping blood from falling back down in the first place. That's where the next movement becomes essential. Rehook. In the next part, you'll see why sitting exercises can outperform walking, and how strengthening one overlooked muscle group can dramatically improve walking speed, stair climbing, and circulation after 60. Most people assume that sitting exercises are useless. After all, how could sitting improve strength, balance, or circulation? But modern rehab science tells a very different story. A growing body of research shows that seated leg strengthening can dramatically improve mobility, circulation, and independence in adults over 60, often faster than walking programs alone. Why? Because walking barely challenges the muscles that matter most for circulation and stability. One of the most effective seated movements targets the quadriceps and hip flexors, muscles that play a critical role in standing, climbing stairs, and rising from a chair. When these muscles contract with control, they compress the large veins in the thighs and help drive blood back toward the heart. This is something walking often fails to do strongly enough, especially with age-related muscle loss. Clinical studies have shown that older adults who perform seated leg extensions with light resistance improve walking speed, stair climbing ability, and endurance within weeks. Doctors even call walking speed the sixth vital sign, because slower walking is strongly linked to higher fall risk and shorter lifespan. The real power of this movement isn't just strength, it's circulation efficiency. When thigh muscles weaken, blood has a harder time moving upward. Pooling increases. Stiffness sets in. Fatigue follows. Strengthening these muscles restores pressure where it's needed most. Posture is critical here. When done correctly, this movement eliminates momentum and forces the right muscles to work. Adding even minimal resistance, 1 or 2 pounds, can significantly accelerate progress. Here's something many people don't realize. Older adults often respond faster to strength training than younger people because they're starting from a lower baseline. Progress feels dramatic because it is. This movement reduces stiffness, improves confidence, and prepares your legs for standing work, which is where circulation and balance truly intersect. But even strong legs won't protect you if your calves remain weak. And that's where the next movement becomes a game changer. Rehook. Up next, you'll learn why calf strength is one of the strongest predictors of independence after 60, and the simple standing movement surgeons obsess over to prevent falls. Researchers studying aging and mobility discovered something surprising. Calf strength is one of the strongest predictors of independence after 60. Stronger calves are linked to fewer falls, better balance, improved circulation, and a lower likelihood of needing assisted living. Yet this muscle group is rarely tested, and even more rarely trained properly. Your calves do far more than help you walk. They are mechanical pumps. Each controlled contraction squeezes deep veins and forces blood upward against gravity. Weak calves allow blood to pool. Swelling increases. Oxygen delivery drops. Reaction time slows. This is why surgeons and rehab teams place enormous emphasis on heel-based movements, even though they look simple. Standing heel raises retrain circulation and balance at the same time, a combination your body relies on to prevent falls. The key isn't speed. It's control. Pausing briefly at the top forces your balance system to engage. Lowering slowly builds strength and coordination. Together, these elements retrain the body to respond during real-world stumbles. Over time, this movement improves ankle stability, circulation, and reaction speed simultaneously. And unlike high-impact exercises, it places minimal stress on joints, making it safe even for people with arthritis when done with support. But here's the limitation. Dynamic movement alone doesn't fully restore circulation. To do that, you need sustained contraction. That's where balance training changes everything. Rehook. In the next part, you'll discover why standing on one leg does more for circulation and fall prevention than most walking routines, and why surgeons consider it essential after 75. One simple test can predict fall risk, mobility loss, and rapid physical decline after 60. Can you stand on one leg? Large population studies show that adults who fail basic single-leg balance tests are significantly more likely to experience serious falls within the next few years. But balance isn't the only reason this matters. Standing on one leg forces continuous muscle contraction in the calf, ankle, hip, and core. That sustained tension creates a powerful circulation effect, keeping blood moving upward instead of pooling. Walking never creates this demand. You're only on one leg for fractions of a second. Single leg holds keep the pump on. This is where circulation and fall prevention intersect. When balance declines, movement decreases. When movement drops, circulation worsens. Pain increases. Confidence fades. This is how the downward spiral begins. Controlled single-leg holds retrain the nervous system, strengthen stabilizers, and maintain blood flow, all at once. But balance alone isn't enough. To truly restore circulation, you need the strongest version of the calf pump available. And that brings us to the most powerful movement of all. Rehook. In the final part, you'll learn the one movement surgeons rely on worldwide to restore blood flow after 60, and why it works better than walking, machines, or medication alone. If surgeons could prescribe one movement like medicine for leg circulation after 60, this would be it. The standing calf pump hold. This movement appears again and again across vascular rehab programs worldwide because nothing activates the calf pump as powerfully, safely, and consistently. The secret isn't the lift. It's the hold. When you rise onto your toes and paws, the calf muscles stay contracted long enough to overcome pooling and sluggish blood return. That sustained pressure forces blood upward against gravity. Walking doesn't do this. Ankle pumps prepare the system. Balance holds train control. But calf pump holds move blood. This movement improves circulation, reduces swelling, strengthens ankles, and retrains the muscles your body relies on when you catch yourself during a stumble. And it does all of this with minimal joint stress. That's why surgeons trust it. And why, once you understand the science, you'll never look at exercise after 60 the same way again. Final rehook/CTA. In the next video, you'll see the wall-based exercise surgeons now say outperforms walking for leg strength and stability after 60. It looks too simple, but the results are dramatic when done correctly. Don't miss it. At this point, a lot of people ask the same question. If these movements are so powerful, why wasn't walking enough? It's a fair question. Walking is often praised as the gold standard for healthy aging. And to be clear, walking is beneficial. It supports heart health, mood, and general mobility. But here's the problem most people over 60 never hear. Walking does not consistently activate the muscle pumps responsible for restoring leg circulation. As we age, our walking pattern changes. Steps get shorter. Push-off becomes weaker. Time spent on one leg decreases. Balance concerns cause cautious movement. All of this dramatically reduces calf and thigh muscle activation. So while you may be moving forward, your circulation system isn't being challenged enough to adapt. This is why so many people walk daily yet still deal with swelling, cold feet, heaviness, or aching legs by evening. The blood simply isn't being pushed back upward efficiently. Surgeons and rehab specialists understand this distinction clearly. That's why walking is rarely used alone in recovery programs. Instead, It's combined with targeted muscle pump activation, the exact movements you've been learning. Think of walking as transportation. Think of these exercises as circulation therapy. Another critical mistake people make is relying on passive solutions. Elevating the legs, wearing compression socks, or massaging the calves can reduce symptoms temporarily, but they don't rebuild the pump. Once you stand up again, gravity wins. Muscle contraction is the only long-term solution. And here's the encouraging part. You don't need long workouts. Research consistently shows that short, frequent bouts of targeted movement outperform long sessions of general activity for circulation after 60. 5 minutes here. A few minutes there. Spread throughout the day. This approach keeps blood moving, reduces stiffness, and prevents swelling from building up in the first place. Another overlooked benefit? Confidence. When circulation improves, pain decreases. When pain decreases, movement increases. When movement increases, balance improves. This positive loop is the opposite of the decline most people fear after 60. But consistency matters more than perfection. You don't need to do every movement every day. Even 2 or 3 of them performed regularly can dramatically change how your legs feel and function. And there's one final piece that ties everything together, a simple way to integrate strength, balance, and circulation using support instead of strain. It's the movement many surgeons now favor for patients who feel unsteady, weak, or hesitant to exercise. And it happens against a wall. Rehook. In the final part, you'll discover why wall-based exercises are becoming a go-to tool in surgical rehab, and how one simple wall movement can outperform walking for leg strength, balance, and circulation after 60. By now, you understand something most people never learn about their bodies after 60. Circulation isn't about steps. It isn't about pushing harder. And it certainly isn't about suffering through pain. It's about activating the right muscle systems in the safest possible way. This is why wall-based exercises are becoming increasingly popular in surgical rehab and physical therapy programs for older adults. They provide support, reduce fear, and allow muscles to work correctly without unnecessary strain. One wall-based movement, in particular, stands out. When done properly, it combines calf pump activation, thigh engagement, balance training, and joint stability all at once. And unlike walking, it removes momentum and forces deliberate muscle contraction, exactly what aging circulation needs. Here's why walls matter. As people get older, fear of falling becomes one of the biggest barriers to movement. That fear causes hesitation. Hesitation reduces muscle activation. And reduced activation worsens circulation and balance. A wall removes that fear. With your back or hands supported, your nervous system relaxes. Muscles fire more completely. Balance improves without panic. And circulation improves because the body isn't bracing or guarding. Surgeons favor wall-supported movements because they allow patients to train longer, with better form, and far less risk. This is especially important for people with arthritis, joint stiffness, or a history of falls. Instead of avoiding exercise, the wall becomes a partner, providing feedback, stability, and confidence. What surprises most people is how effective these movements are. They don't look intense. They don't feel dramatic. But the internal effects are powerful. Blood flow improves. Ankles feel lighter. Feet warm up. Swelling decreases. And balance reactions sharpen because muscles are finally working in coordination again. This is why many patients report feeling steadier within weeks, sometimes even days, of consistent practice. And here's the most important takeaway from this entire series. Aging does not automatically steal circulation, strength, or independence. Inactivity and improper training do. Your body still knows how to adapt. It still responds to pressure, tension, and repetition. It just needs the right signals. These movements, ankle pumps, leg extensions, heel raises, balance holds, and wall-supported exercises, send those signals clearly and safely. 15 minutes a day is enough. No gym. No machines. No impact. Just intentional movement. And that's the difference between hoping to stay mobile and actively protecting your independence. Final rehook/CTA. If you haven't already, watch the next video where I break down the exact wall-based exercise surgeons now recommend most for leg strength and stability after 60. It looks simple, but when done correctly, the results can be life-changing.